On that note, let's go to Matt Park. Matt, how are you?
I'm good, guys. How are you?
Good.
Doing well.
I'm going to lead you with something. And, this is a nugget, and it's not sports related, but I want to get your thoughts on it. I was
Not you, Paulie.
Seriously.
I was digging through the web yesterday, watching reels and whatnot. Did you know that Goonies and Back to the Future both happened on the exact same day, October 26, 1985? So, it's easy to find out for Back to the Future because it's right on the time machine. But Goonies, if you look at the news, they say, hey, it's Saturday, and you look at the newspaper where the Fratellis escape from jail, it says it's the 25th, and it's the next day, it's the 26th. So they both happened on the same day.
You're really leading into that Pawn Pros commercial. Over and over.
Yeah, so there you go. I learned that.
I was probably, while you were watching Goonies, how close would that have been to the 85 World Series, Cardinals and Royals?
Oh, I was into that too. That was it. Yeah,
okay.
That was a bad call at first base in that World Series.
Don Denkinger, yeah.
Yeah, so I remember that. I was a big Willie McGee fan.
Worse than the call in 1998 against Tennessee, or?
Oh, good lead in.
Yeah, that's a good one to start with. I can still remember. I was watching that game from a sports bar in Charlotte, and I was at the Michigan game right after that. But that was a wild one and one that still stings. Obviously, brutal.
Yeah, it was really weird because they also got nailed multiple times for like uniform infractions, right?
Yeah, which you don't hear of before or since. It's like, I'm not one who whines about officiating, but if you think of some of the great adverse calls for Syracuse football history, still the 1961 Notre Dame roughing the holder, things that don't even exist anymore. Right? It's like, where did you make that one up? So the stuff that you haven't heard of before or since, and those stick in your craw for sure.
Matt, we were talking to start the show about the schedule, and I think all offseason everyone has looked at the schedule as sort of a negative, I guess, and we started to think maybe there is more positives to be seen from the schedule, and I don't know if you heard when we had Fran on earlier, but of course his answer is as predicted, just sort of he's excited about the schedule, and this is how you build your program. How nice is it that Syracuse has a coach right now in Fran that is very excited to go against a schedule like this, and he knows that this is how you build the program by taking on a team like Tennessee week one?
Yeah, it's great. I think people are still learning how he rolls and kind of what makes him tick, and he's not really going to say much beyond, like, this is a guy who loves being a football coach and loves the day-to-day grind of building a team, of mentoring young people, and all of that. Who they play and when they, that type of thing is kind of just one of the details. It's not like it, and he's going to err on the side of taking on challenges. We all know that the schedule could dent him up a little bit. It has that potential, but it also has the potential to have tremendous impact. God forbid you win this game, right? If you think about the momentum you have from winning this game and what it would mean nationally, you're knocking off a ranked SEC team in SEC country. Not a true road game, but pretty close. And then you come home and you'll be favored in the next two before taking on maybe the best team in the country in Clemson. So I think it's got great ramifications. From a fan perspective, I don't see any way around wanting these types of games, and I understand that this year they're largely on the road, but what goes around comes around. You're going to get those games at home if you schedule ambitiously, and I think he gets the juices flowing a whole lot more than a game against the MAC does.
I tried to get out of Fran what his expectations were out of the quarterback position after Kyle McCord last year. From a fan perspective, in your perspective, what are you expecting, and what do you think people should expect out of the quarterback play this year?
I think you're going to see the strength of the offensive coordinator. and the quarterback's coach, Jeff Nixon and Nunzio Campanelli, and the way they prepare and the type of offense they have schemes people open. If you know what you're doing, there's always somewhere to go with the football. And I think that's Angeli's strength. So I don't expect the offense to be as explosive this year. Kyle McCord was an excellent downfield passer, and literally the best in the country at that last year, or one of them. I don't know that Angeli necessarily takes those shots. That remains to be seen as we start to see more of a body of work from him. But my expectation for him, that I would say, how does he get an A grade on Saturday, is go out there, get them lined up, get in the right play, don't turn it over. That's paramount. The Tennessee quarterback is prone to turn the ball over historically. So if you win the turnover margin, that's a big benefit in your factor. And so that's what I see from Angeli. It's you don't have to go out there and win the game, but get the ball to playmakers and don't do anything that loses the game.
You think it's fair, Matt, to say that the skill positions are maybe a little better than, let's call it like a Tennessee fan thinks of the Syracuse roster right now? Based on what you've seen, and Jonte Cook is in the folds, do you think there's maybe not going to be that big of a drop-off skill position player-wise this year?
Yeah, I absolutely know what you're getting at. What does the Syracuse have? They've got a lot of players who were at the SEC level, especially if you consider Texas in the SEC with Jonte Cook, and guys who just didn't quite fit or factor at that level, okay, and are getting a second chance here. And to be fair, Tennessee's got a lot of very good players too, but they've got a couple that they're thinking didn't perform at the level they wanted to in the SEC. And Chris Brazel's a great example of that. He's a transfer from Tulane that they thought was going to be a big deal, and he was just okay last year, apart from a tremendous game-winning catch against Alabama at home. So, yeah, I think they could sneak up on a little bit. And let me tell you, I've done a couple interviews in Tennessee this week. The whole thing's sneaking up on them. They're not spending a lot of time paying attention to Syracuse in Knoxville.
Matt, I asked you about the quarterback. What about the running game? That's one position where you can name the two guys. We saw them carry the ball a couple times last year, but there's a big drop-off in what they had last year to this year, or are these guys capable of making up the yardage from LeQuint?
I think the difference will be LeQuint was the clear go-to man, right? It was, I'd have to even look it up or do the math. Did he get 80% of the carries, not 90? It felt like would have mattered. This year I see it more 60% Willis, 30% Nixon, 10% the rest right now. Obviously that can fluctuate over the course of the season. But and LeQuint was awesome. I'm not here to cut into him at all. He didn't have the home run ability that Sean Tucker did. I think some of these younger running backs might have that. I think they might have breakaway speed. Willis is a big back. He catches it out of the backfield, brings a lot to the table. I don't know that he's running away from people, but I think they have a bunch of different people to try at the running back position, and no one of them is LeQuint Allen at this stage, but I think they kind of piece it together in a way they like.
When you say that, you think like a Malachi James we might see, or someone in that range? Yeah.
Yes, I would say James is the first one that comes to mind. But all those guys that are track guys, I wouldn't be surprised to see them on kick return, and maybe they try to make that a little more dynamic part of the game, particularly if they aren't playing that much. If it's reserve wide receivers or running backs that they can put out there on kicks, and they're not afraid of them getting bumped into before going out on offense. That's a possibility. I think the punt return game is something they've worked on to be more dynamic. But yeah, James in particular is who I was thinking as far as a wild card at running back.
Well, you talked about earlier, what if Syracuse wins this game and the hype that would come from it? What would you say after digging in on Tennessee is a formula for Syracuse to go out there and pull off what many would consider would be an upset?
Yeah, I guess the first thing that comes to mind is turnovers. That's equalizing or neutralizing factor in any game. Joey Aguilar, for a lot of his credits, he's done a lot of things right. 24 interceptions the last 2 years, and also just sort of ball security, fumble issues at Appalachian. That doesn't mean it follows him into yet another year of football. I'm sure they've worked on it. But if that brings itself up, obviously an underdog is going to benefit from more possessions or potentially better field position coming from that. So I'm not going to claim Tennessee has any. I don't think they have any real significant weaknesses. They do have a couple injuries. Two of their best, maybe their two best, arguably. Yeah. Jermon McCoy is out. They're going to hold him back a little longer with the ACL. And Boo Carter sounds like a really dynamic player coming into his sophomore year, but he's kind of in the doghouse. And I guess he's probably going to play, but he's not getting marquee treatment right now. It doesn't sound like from Josh Heupel. So they've got a lot of good players. They've got 6-year players on the defensive line. I think they're, the core of their defense is really strong. Their question mark is probably offensive line. Not that they don't have guys that, they played and they're highly recruited and all of that. They just haven't played together.
I led you with, we started off with the quarterback. I'm going to end with the quarterback too. We were just discussing, they have a guy from Appalachian State that turned the ball over a lot. He had fumble issues against, that's not the SEC schedule. Syracuse got the guy who was the number 2 guy at Notre Dame last year. Who would you be more confident having, the backup, from Notre Dame or the top guy from App State?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I would take if they played each other to neutral on Saturday, I would take that right now. I heard just briefly earlier Tim talking about his confidence in Steve Angeli. I feel confident in him. I don't have any reason not to right now. No, he hasn't played a lot. Versus a 2-year starter in the Sun Belt Conference is different, of course, but let's see. I don't think Syracuse is going into the game with a deficit at the quarterback position for sure. The one thing that is interesting, and way back weeks ago, I started just some snooping around on a couple notes. It's like, Aguilar has this reputation for turning it over. Josh Heupel was a very good college quarterback at Oklahoma, and he led at least the conference, if not the nation, in interceptions one year. I think he had a year where he threw 10 or 14 or something like that. And so their numbers actually kind of look fairly similar, the two of them against different competition, of course. But, excited for it. I think both teams have reason to be optimistic. Syracuse will go in as an underdog, but that's going to be kind of the story of the year to take their shot at these big games. All
right, Myers Creek tonight, Matt. The first Fran Brown show. We'll see you out there.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, make sure people know new location, Myers Creek in Ann Arbor.
All right, we'll be there. You got
good stuff. I am going to be there. Yes. Nice.
Can't say
you'll get more of me.
Can't wait.
And then you're hitting the road right after the show.
Right after. Yeah. Got to be set up for the pregame show out in the tailgate